The unity government will continue to look for methods to ensure subsidies are provided fairly to targeted groups. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the B40 groups will continue to be the priority in subsidies provision.
Orang miskin naik motor pun kita subsidi. Orang kaya naik Mercedes pun kita subsidi. Jadi kita kena cari kaedah lah. Hak miskin itu janganlah kacau. Teruslah subsidi. Tapi yang kaya itu kita nak bertahan pasal apa? Kamu kaya ada pendapatan RM50,000 sebulan, RM100 sebulan, RM100,000 sebulan. Ada yang RM1 juta sebulan. Bayarlah.
He said in his speech at a gathering with mosques and surau committee members from the Tambun Parliamentary Constituency at the Perak Islamic Administration Institute in Ipoh, Perak. The Prime Minister also defended the decision to impose actual electricity tariff charges on consumers who use excessive electricity, which he said did not affect 80% of consumers. In related news, the implementation of targeted subsidy for diesel will begin next year before moving on to other types of fuel. Minister of Domestic Trade and Cost of Living, Datuk Seri Salahuddin Ayub, said the National Economic Action Council MTEN meeting yesterday has decided to create an integrated database to ensure the effectiveness of targeted subsidy implementation.
Kita sedang melihat menyiapkan dan satu perkaran data padu telah pun diberikan mandat untuk membuat penyelarasan data-data yang berkenaan. Semua agensi, semua kementerian, semua perkaran data ni kita dah ada data. Cuma kita kena synchronize data itu dan pastikan data itu tepat dan berkesan bila kita nak laksanakan nanti.
He added that the integrated database will be developed together with several ministries, including the Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Ministry, Economy Ministry, Finance Ministry, Transport Ministry and the Investment Trade and Industry Ministry. Datuk Seri Salahuddin was speaking at the press conference of the launching ceremony of the Malaysia International Franchise Exhibition and Conference 2023 at the Kuala Lumpur Convention Centre. The government has received a proposal to revive the Buy Malaysia First initiative to help local industry players that are unable to conduct business activities in several countries due to non-tariff barrier. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Fadilah Yusof said the proposal was among many others suggested to him during a dialogue session with agro-commodity industry players in Putrajaya yesterday.
Dan masa sama juga dikemukakan tadi, kalau negara-negara lain, kalau kita nak mengeksport ada sekatan yang non-tarif barrier yang diperkenalkan. Tapi di Malaysia kita tidak memperkenalkan banyak perkara yang bebas masuk ke negara kita. Jadi mereka juga memohon supaya kita boleh memberi penekanan bahawa Buy Malaysia First dapat diberi tekanan balik dan bagaimana kita dapat melihat supaya produk-produk negara kita sendiri diberi keutamaan dalam negara kita sendiri.
Datuk Seri Fadilah, who is also the Minister of Plantation and Commodities, was met after attending a dialogue session with industry players yesterday. The first ever dialogue session was joined by 250 agro-commodity industry players from across the country. 55 issues and proposals by industry representatives will be considered and refined by the ministry soon so that the issues raised could be resolved holistically. The Raw Water Guarantee Scheme (SGAM) initiative, which was developed to tackle water disruption issue, is expected to be fully operational next year. Selangor Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Amiruddin Syari said the raw water pumping project has now achieved more than 51% progress as of 30th April.
Kalau projek ni insya-Allah kalau ikut schedule-nya bulan 10, tapi kita akan tengok juga sebab dia akan melibatkan testing, dia akan melibatkan simulasi dan sebagainya. So hopefully by next year semuanya berjalan baik, tapi kita akan cuba percepat sebaik mungkin. Saya juga akan monitor this project from day to day, daripada masa ke masa untuk pastikan tidak lagi delay untuk elakkan sebarang risiko henti tugas, gangguan bekalan akibat pencemaran.
With a cost of 320 million ringgit, SJAM will be able to cater to the needs of 1.6 million Selangor account holders involving 7 million consumers in Selangor, Klang Valley and Putrajaya. Through the project, the consumers can enjoy a continuous supply of water without interruption, even though the pollution of the raw water source is detected in the rivers. Meanwhile, Datuk Sri Amiruddin said the level of raw water sources in dams and reservoirs in Selangor is currently at 95%, which is capable of meeting the needs of domestic and industrial users for a period of 4 to 6 months. The Royal Malaysia Police will not hesitate to take stern legal actions against any individuals that try to disrupt the harmony and order by touching on the 3 Rs, race, religion and royalty issue. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Akril Sani Abdullah Sani said any legal actions or investigations regarding the issue will be handled by the 3 Rs Special Task Force, which was established in March this year.
Kita akan ambil tindakan yang pantas untuk menyiasat, untuk memastikan pelakunya dikesan dan dikenakan tindakan undang-undang yang sewajarnya. Ini untuk memastikan supaya keharmonian masyarakat majmuk di negara kita ini akan sentiasa terpelihara demi kesejahteraan negara kita.
A total of 23 cases have been recorded since 22nd March until 17th May, with 11 of those cases related to insults against the rulers or the royal institution, 4 on religion and 5 on race. 3 cases had gone to court, while 2 others were classified as no further action, and another 18 are still under investigation. The usage of electronic cigarettes or vape among teenagers has increased from 9.8% in 2017 to 14.9% last year. Deputy Health Minister Lukanisman Awang Sauni said the ministry will soon table the Tobacco and Smoking Products Control Bill, which includes e-cigarettes, to curb its usage among teenagers.
Melalui RUU ini, kita berharap akan dapat mengisi kelopongan semasa berkenaan isu berkaitan tentang regulations dan juga apakah tindakan-tindakan yang boleh kita ambil melalui penggunaan vape ini, dan juga melalui mekanisme generasi penamat kita kekal dengan untuk memastikan generasi yang lahir dan berusia 18 tahun pada tahun yang kita akan tetap akan tidak dibenarkan untuk pengambilan rokok dan kemudiannya vape.
He added that MOH will also ramp up enforcement activities to curb cigarettes and alcohol sales to teenagers. Still to come, Malaysia forges cooperation with Russian universities. Malaysia and Russia have agreed to forge cooperation in the higher education sector. Higher Education Minister Datuk Sri Mohammad Khalid Nordin said it will facilitate the accreditation process for programs offered by universities in both countries. The agreement came at a bilateral meeting between Datuk Sri Mohammad Khalid and Russian Science and Higher Education Deputy Minister Airat Gatiatyov at the 2023 Kazan Forum.
Dengan demikian, jika kita dapat jayakan itu melalui MQA dengan agensi kelayakan mereka, maka ia akan memudahkan proses untuk mereka menghantar lebih ramai pelajar dia belajar di Malaysia. Dan memang ini sesuatu yang juga kita tekankan kepada Rusia. Kita telah lama hantar banyak pelajar ke Rusia. Kita harap Rusia juga melihat kepada Malaysia untuk dihantar pelajar-pelajar mereka, penyelidikan mereka dan sebagainya.
The minister also witnessed the MOU signing between University Technology Malaysia and Institute of Biomedical Chemistry Russia, St. Petersburg Electrotechnical University and St. Petersburg HSE University. In the meantime, Datuk Sri Mohammad Khalid noted Malaysia's preparedness in assisting Tatarstan Republic to develop its education sector, especially in the halal industry, as well as Islamic banking and finance sector. The matter was raised by the country's president, Rustam Minikhanov, in his courtesy visit to the forum. Malaysians must adopt the concept of tabayun, which is always to check the authenticity of every piece of information received on any platform in their lives. Communications and Digital Minister Fahmi Fadzil said the tabayun concept is crucial as all information received presently cannot be completely trusted.
Bila kita menerima sesuatu maklumat, menerima sesuatu berita, Waima membaca sesuatu buku sekalipun, tidak harus kita menerima bulat-bulat ya apa yang terkandung. Itu berbahaya.
The minister also urged the public to take their time to analyse the news before trusting it and sharing it to others. He added that police and the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC, will constantly monitor information related to the 3R, race, religion and royal institution. He said this after officiating the Jom Baca Bersama 10-minute program at the ministry's building in Putrajaya. Fahmi said a program, Bedah Buku, will be introduced soon to foster a culture of reading as well as sharing of reading materials. The Jom Baca Bersama 10-minute program is one of the National Library's initiatives to produce knowledgeable and informed Malaysians and cultivate a lifetime reading habit. Bashar al-Assad attends first Arab League summit in years. There are more coming up in the foreign segment. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad arrived in Saudi Arabia yesterday to join an Arab League summit for the first time in more than a decade of war. The visit seals Assad's dramatic return to the Arab fold, a development championed by host Saudi Arabia and fellow Gulf power, the United Arab Emirates, despite reservations from other Arab leaders. Assad arrived at King Abdul Aziz International Airport in Jeddah to participate in the Arab League summit to be held later today. Saudi state-affiliated channel Al Akbariya showed footage of a smiling Assad disembarking from a plane and being greeted on the tarmac by Prince Badr bin Sultan, Deputy Governor of Mecca region, where Jeddah is located. The Arab League suspended Damascus in November 2011 over its bloody crackdown on protests, which triggered a conflict that has gone on to kill more than 500,000 people and displace millions more. Saudi Arabia and other Arab countries either severed or downgraded ties with Assad at the time, with Riyadh long openly championing his ouster. But earlier this month, the 22-member pan-Arab body welcomed Damascus back, and Saudi Arabia invited Assad to Jeddah, the latest in a series of high-profile diplomatic twists reshaping the region in recent months. Syrian pro-government newspaper Al Watan said Assad would likely meet a number of leaders in bilateral meetings Thursday evening and Friday morning. The last Arab League summit Assad attended was in 2010 in Libya. The UN aid chief decried Thursday multiple serious breaches of an agreement by Sudan's warring parties last week to spare civilians and civilian infrastructure and to let in badly needed aid. Martin Griffiths, heading the United Nations aid efforts, welcomed the 12th May declaration signed in the Saudi city of Jeddah by the two sides in Sudan's bloody conflict, vowing to refrain from attacking humanitarians delivering desperately needed aid.
If you invest early, you encourage people to stay where they are. And as we've seen in pretty well every other crisis, it's when people move, whether it's Somalia or Afghanistan or elsewhere, it's when people move that their needs rise and their societies are destabilized. And in the case of Sudan, not just in Sudan, but in the region. So early humanitarian investment is the smartest use of a dollar.
Griffiths stressed that assistance must be scaled up dramatically to respond to the spiralling situation in Sudan since the conflict erupted on the 15th of April between Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and his former deputy Muhammad Hamdan Daglo, who leads the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF. G7 leaders arrived in Hiroshima, Japan on Thursday to weigh tighter sanctions on Russia and protections against China's economic coercion, surrounded by reminders about the harrowing cost of war. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is hosting leaders from 6 other wealthy democracies in his hometown, a city synonymous with nuclear destruction and now peppered with peace monuments. Leaders, including US President Joe Biden, will try over 3 days to forge a united front on Russia and China, where the allies' interests do not always neatly align. Biden's delicate diplomatic offensive in Asia hit a bump even before Air Force One left US soil. A domestic budget row forced him to cancel stops in Papua New Guinea and Australia. He arrived in Hiroshima yesterday, becoming just the second US president after Barack Obama to visit a city leveled by his country's little boy atomic bomb. Russia's 15-month-old invasion of Ukraine will top the agenda when the G7 summit gets underway Friday, after a new spate of aerial attacks on Kiev and a long winter of grinding warfare in Bakhmut and other frontline towns. G7 nations have already adopted sanctions on Russian banks and military firms and placed price caps on Russian crude. Discussions are expected on tighter enforcement and new measures on range of goods, including Moscow's roughly $5 billion annual trade in diamonds. The death toll from floods that have devastated northeastern Italy rose to 13 on Thursday, driving thousands from their homes and destroying crops in an area known as the country's orchard. Rescue workers have been searching for anyone trapped by floodwaters in the Emilia-Romagna region. Authorities have not confirmed the latest rise from the 11 deaths previously announced. Among the victims were 2 farmers in their 70s who may have been electrocuted while trying to move a fridge inside a flooded house. With 10,000 people already displaced, authorities in Ravenna issued immediate evacuation orders early Thursday morning for 3 more villages threatened by floods. Locals waded through dirty water or reclaimed what they could from sodden houses in towns across the wealthy region, famed for its historic cities and prized gastronomy. Authorities said electricity had been partly restored, but some 27,000 people were still in the dark. Nearly 24 rivers and streams flooded across the southeast of the low-lying region following heavy rain earlier this week, submerging entire neighborhoods and farmland and damaging 400 roads. More than 3,000 people have been displaced in central Nigeria after at least 85 people were killed in ongoing clashes between herders and farmers. Now, the violence erupted on Monday with an initial death toll of 30 in several villages of Plateau State, an area which has struggled with ethnic and religious tensions for years. Several villages in the Mangu district of Plateau State were still caught up in the violence on Thursday, with residents fleeing, according to local sources and witnesses. The crisis is just one of the many security challenges facing President-elect Bola Tinubu, who takes the helm of Africa's most populous nation later this month. It was unclear what triggered this week's attacks in Mangu, but tit-for-tat killings between herders and farmers often spiral into village raids by heavily armed gangs. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, said thousands of people were displaced and hundreds of houses destroyed as a result of the violence. The number of people injured was still unclear as of yesterday. Next in sports, Medvedev is set to meet Tsitsipas in Rome semi-final clash. Stay tuned. World number 3 Daniil Medvedev produced a dominant performance against German qualifier Yannick Hanfmann to reach his first Italian Open semi-final, cruising to a 6-2, 6-2 victory on Thursday. Medvedev, who has described himself as a hard court specialist, had never won a match in Rome before this year's tournament, but has produced some of his best tennis to reach the last four on clay for the first time since Monte Carlo in 2019. Medvedev soaked up Hansman's powerful hitting and controlled the baseline exchanges, dominating with his big first serve to wrap up the win in an hour 20 minutes. Medvedev will meet either world number 5 Stefanos Tsitsipas as he continues his quest for his 5th title of the season, having triumphed in Rotterdam, Doha, Dubai and Miami. Meanwhile, world number 5 Stefanos Tsitsipas booked his Italian Open semi-final ticket with another straight sets win in Rome, this time over Borna Coric. Tsitsipas was dominant against Coric after losing to the Croat in 3 of 5 matches, including here in 2018 and in last summer's Cincinnati final. Tsitsipas secured the opening set with a break and took a 2-1 lead in the second. But 2 double faults contributed as he dropped serve for 4-4, only to break straight back and serve out victory a game later. Tsitsipas, who has not dropped a set on the Roman clay, will face Russian Daniil Medvedev in the semis. Tsitsipas and Medvedev have played 12 times to date, with the latter leading 7-4. Holder Rafael Nadal will miss the French Open after failing to regain full fitness from a hip injury suffered at the Australian Open in January. The 14 times Roland Garros winner said on Thursday, adding that 2024 could be the final year of his career. Nadal, who has dominated the clay court season for years, has competed at Roland Garros every year since claiming the first of his men's joint record 22 major titles in Paris in 2005. Nadal said he needs to stop playing for the foreseeable future to make a full recovery and return for what he anticipates will be his farewell season. The French Open runs from 28th May to 11th June. Nadal overcame a niggling foot injury to beat Casper Ruud in last year's final. But he has struggled with his latest issue and has not competed since January after hurting his hip flexor in his second round match against Mackenzie McDonald that effectively ended his Melbourne Park title defense. In March, Nadal fell out of the top 10 in the world rankings for the first time since 2005 and is currently 14th. Nadal's 14 French Open titles are the most by any player at a single major. He boasts a stunning 112-3 record in Paris and is widely regarded as the King of Clay. Meanwhile, world number 1 Iga Swiatek is awaiting an update on a thigh injury sustained in the quarterfinals of the Italian Open on Wednesday. The injury comes just 12 days before the French Open, where the two-time defending champion will be hoping to win a 4th Grand Slam. During Wednesday's match, Swiatek requested a medical timeout after Kazakhstan's Elena Rybakina came from behind to take the second set in a tie-break, and the Polish top seed, who returned with her leg taped up, withdrew from the third set level at 2-all. After Giro d'Italia pockmarked by crashes, dreadful weather, sickness and abandonments, Stage 12 on Thursday offered some much-needed respite before the serious business kicks in again. The 185-kilometre route, featuring 2 climbs, offered the perfect day for the GC contenders to stay safe and allow riders in the breakaways to have their day in the sunshine. And so they did, with the stage coming down to a 3-way sprint, eventually taken comfortably by Germany's Nico Denz of the Bora Hansgrohe team, his first Grand Tour stage win. Latvia's Toms Skujins Trek Segafredo was second, with Australian Sebastian Berwick of Israel Premier Tech sitting up before the line to cross in third. Race leader Geraint Thomas finished several minutes back in the peloton along with the remaining GC contenders. Now the fight for the Maglia Rosa will resume in earnest today as the race hits the Alps for the first time this year, crossing the Swiss border with a summit finish at the ski resort of Crans-Montana. Denz was part of a 5-rider attack from the front of a large breakaway group with just over 90 kilometers remaining. FIFA President Gianni Infantino promised that the 2026 World Cup will be beyond the imagination during a ceremony to launch the branding for the tournament on Wednesday in Los Angeles. The United States, Canada and Mexico will play host to 48 teams, the first time so many countries have been involved in the competition.
Well, it's an incredible emotion. Football es vida, as we just heard. So when you hand over that trophy to the winner of the World Cup, it's of course a pride, but it's emotion. You can see the eyes of the players who won it. You can see the eyes of Fenomeno here when he holds it. Even now, it gives so much joy, so much happiness to the team, but to the entire country who has won. So it's incredible.
For the first time, an image of the trophy and the tournament hosting year is depicted in the tournament logo. Infantino was joined on stage for the branding reveal by Brazil's Ronaldo, who won the World Cup in 2002. More than 200 Russian athletes have been sanctioned following the Operation LIMS investigation into Moscow's anti-doping laboratory, with more bans to come. The World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, said on Thursday the suspensions are the result of a data and samples retrieved by WADA's intelligence and investigations team into the Moscow Laboratory Information Management System, LIMS. A total of 203 Russian athletes have been sanctioned by 17 anti-doping organizations, with an additional 73 charged. Another 182 cases remain under investigation. In 2015, the Russian anti-doping agency RUSADA was declared non-compliant with the WADA code after an investigation uncovered widespread institutionalized doping. WADA's executive committee voted in 2018 to reinstate RUSADA, subject to a number of conditions that included access to all data from the LIMS. It was later determined some data retrieved had been manipulated, which led to WADA again asking RUSADA to be ruled non-compliant and face another 4 years of penalties. Russia appealed the proposed sanctions to the Court of Arbitration for Sport and had them reduced to 2 years. The LIMS investigation team was able to forensically recover much of the manipulated and deleted data, which has contributed to hundreds more cases being built against athletes caught up in the Russian doping program. And that ends updates at noon today. Wrapping up with a recap of our top story: government working on fair distribution of subsidies. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight, coming up at 8:30 p.m. on Saluran Berita RTM. You can stream the channel on YouTube or RTM Click's web portal and mobile app. I'm Mohana Priya. Stay tuned to TV2. Salam Malaysia Madani.